1. Welcome to Made for More Living.
One small step for man.
With Johnny Jennings.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
The fastest and most exciting hour of news, events, and real estate in Northern California.
And this is a fact that was proved.
Powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Get ready. Here we go.
We have a fantastic show for you today. We have a special guest, and she shares the same credentials as Richard Branson, Jay-Z, and her name is Lisa Massey. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you, Johnny.
So are you a rapper or a pilot? Which one of those do you relate to, Jay-Z or Richard Branson?
Or a billionaire.
I don't think anyone wants me to be a pilot. I'm fast.
Fast? Well, I wish you were a pilot. I freaking hate... Yeah,
I'm so curious, though. What do you have in common with Jay-Z and Richard Branson?
Well, I was sharing with you gentlemen that I actually did not finish high school. So I am a...
But you got your GED, right?
No, I didn't.
Wow.
I know.
So you dropped out of high school. At what grade?
I finished 10th grade, and I want to say I went to school for 2 weeks in my junior year. And then I went off and took care of myself and worked 4 jobs. And
4 jobs. Wow.
Wow, that's incredible. A lot of people face those dilemmas, especially depending on the circumstances, right, Johnny? Where you decide, okay, do I want to further my education or do I just need to make money right now? I need a job ASAP. And that was the choice you made, right?
It was. I mean, I like shoes and purses, so I knew I had to really work hard.
That's what you have in common with Jay-Z.
One job was for shoes, one job was for purses, the other 2 were for living. Yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely.
So I'm with you, though, Lisa. Like, I did not want to finish high school, and I didn't even want to go to college. I did finish both, but hats off to you. I wish I hadn't, because a lot of what I learned in high school and college, I'm not using today. I have a bachelor's.
You wish you had not gone to high school?
So looking back, looking at what I learned and what I experienced, no. But if I hadn't gone, I probably would question, hey, did I miss out on going to prom? Did I miss out on these experiences?
Here's my question, though.
Yes.
Doesn't it close a lot of doors if you have not graduated high school? As an employer, I would think that would be a prerequisite. Like, hey, you have to have graduated high school, but obviously that wasn't the case for you.
So the big thing, and yes, you're right, there are a lot of, things that will hold you back, but it's really just being upfront and honest. If you are applying for a job, is really letting them know, maybe even having that conversation with them. But there are certain jobs you can't get. So I don't recommend not getting your high school diploma. But I just am someone that, my life took me in a different direction and career-wise. And
That's awesome. You didn't let your setbacks hold you down. And obviously you've been successful. But I'm curious, can I ask a question? How did those conversations go with potential employers or clients when you talk about, I didn't graduate high school?
I can't think of any conversation that I ever had that didn't go well with it. Now, I don't think that I actually ever, not got a job from not having it either. I think they just liked that I was upfront about it.
Well, my perspective is, so we have about 15 people we employ with the Made for More team, and honestly, I don't check to see if they have checked the
high school graduation.
I'm more interested in who are you as a person? What are your qualifications for the job that you're interviewing for? Can you do this job? I really don't care if you graduated college, graduated high school. I care, are you good at what you're being hired on to do? And it sounds like that's your similar experience. It's like, hey, Lisa's incredible at what she does. What are you doing these days, though, since you graduated high school?
Since I haven't.
She's rapping.
She's rapping?
I'm rapping.
Rapping and a pilot?
She's helping out Jay-Z.
I'm filling in for Jay-Z.
There you go.
But what
do you do? What is it you're passionate about? How have you been successful? Obviously, you've proven yourself by doing what?
Well, right now I currently work for a company called Snap NHD, and I provide natural hazard disclosures throughout the real estate community. And I really got into real estate in 2001. I was working in cosmetics at Nordstrom Arden Fair.
There you go.
Sad day when that store closed. But I was actually recruited right out of there. And it was 2001. And as you guys know, the market was, way hot then.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what title insurance was. And the CEO said, well, we don't really either know what it is. So as long as you can sell and... it took
So they went into Nordstrom and
Yeah,
they were
that's
like,
what I'm curious about. Did someone walk into Nordstrom and say, hey, have you thought about doing this?
Yes, I ended up, doing makeup for two ladies. They were reps at the time for a company called Alliance Title. They were on their lunch break. And so they were like, have you ever thought about selling title insurance? And I'm like, I have no idea what that is. And so they said, one gal was getting ready to get out of the business and do something else. And she's like, I think you would be great at this. So they sent the CEO in to personal shop, but I didn't know who he was.
Oh, wow.
So it was a test without knowing. And this is weeks later.
wow.
And so then at the end of my sell with him, I was wrapping
With him,
his
what were you
gift.
selling him?
I was selling him fragrance for his girlfriend.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
There
and
you
at the
go.
time.
For his girlfriends? Did you say plural?
He may have. No, I think at this time he only had one.
At this time, he dialed it back a little.
Okay.
No. And so, then it took me 4 months, you guys, to get hired on with this company because they were like, oh, meet me at the car wash at Pavilions. And I met with all these different managers, but they were like, you're so young, you're 24. I don't know how this market will take to you.
Oh, interesting.
And no high school diploma, right?
Right.
But
They didn't need that.
I
yeah.
sent a box, you guys, of socks to the CEO of Alliance Title, and I said, I'll knock your socks off. Give me a
Wow.
shot, right? And
Wow.
so
Right there. Good job.
he called me and he said, you know what? He's like, you're young. He's like, but I have a good feeling about you. And sure enough, I took off. I was successful.
Way to go.
I bought my first house at 26, my
Nice.
second one at
Incredible.
30.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Without a GED or a high
Without
school
a
diploma.
GED.
That's really great. So that's something we've discovered too is like just little gifts. Gifts open the door to like
Absolutely.
opportunities.
And it's all about connections.
So how long did you do the title game for?
So I was in title for 15 years.
Okay.
And then I ended up getting into the natural hazard disclosure segment in 2000, I want to say the end of 2016.
Okay.
And so I've been in it ever since.
What prompted that transition? I mean, 15 years is a long time.
I was ready for a change, and there was a lot of changes in the real estate market and what title reps could do and not do.
Oh, yeah.
And I just really wanted to do something different, something that pushed me a little bit more out of my comfort zone, too. And there was this realtor that she worked for this company. It was Disclosure Save, and it was bought out by CoreLogic. And at the time, she'd been an agent for many years, so she was the rep for Disclosure Save. And then she was like, this territory's too big. Do you know of anyone that would be a good, fit? And so I thought about it, and I said, well, what do you think about me? Do you think this would be something I would be good at?
Was she wanting you to say that, or was she legitimately asking?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe. She never said.
Okay.
And she's like, oh my gosh, yes. Are you looking? And I'm like, yeah, I think I would do well at this. So she set me up with her boss, and here I am, 7 years later. And I absolutely love it.
What do you love about it?
I love the relationships. I build a lot of relationships really throughout California because it's required in the state of California. And I'm now director of sales with Snap NHD. So I've got reps in other areas, and then there's territories that I also take care of as well. So I love the relationship part of it, but the one thing that I did not think I would like that I actually have enjoyed more is speaking in front of large groups. Mm-hmm. So I just did my largest zip form training, which is how, realtors, go through the platform and they upload their contracts. Yep. And there was over 120 people in the room at an association in Temecula. So
Temecula, of all places.
Yes, and good old Temecula. But, it really has forced me to get out of my comfort zone and speak, in front of even larger groups than that. But that was an actual training that I did, and it was 2 hours. And so it's really taught me to get out of my comfort zone and continue to push forward. And it also motivates you to educate yourself more.
Yep, and that's what we're seeing just in the industry right now in general, right? Like a lot of agents they need to get out of their comfort zone. They may have succeeded in open houses. I was just talking to a guy recently. He's like, Johnny, I used to do open houses, but now I'm struggling to get open houses. Well, he has to push outside of his comfort zone and find some other ways to generate business for himself and his family. And
Absolutely.
One of the great things that you do is you will actually, like, not only have you done it, push yourself out of the comfort zone, but you will actually sit down with agents and help them, right, go over zip forms, like you were mentioning, zip form trainings, right?
Yes, I love doing the zip form trainings. I thought to myself...
For those that may not be familiar with what you're talking about, what's a zip form?
So zip forms is where the real estate agent goes in and they are going to either put an offer in, so they'll write an offer up and they send it out to the parties, or they're going to upload a listing. And so it just really shows them how to save time creating their templates, tips and tricks and ways to work through the like the RPA. And so I like to teach to that because I think, why not learn how you guys do business? It's going to help me in mine as well. And working for a company, Snap NHD, we're newer. And so I was like, how can I set myself apart, right? How can I differentiate myself from other, competitors out there? So I thought, well, get certified as a zip form trainer and then, take your show on the road. So. And
the next thing you know, you're presenting to 120 people in Temecula.
In Temecula.
You're on tour. All right, we'll after the break, we will discuss more about Snap NHD, why it's important, why you need one, and how you can get one for free. Back after this.
Mike, you and I both know going through a divorce is tough, right? For everyone. Yeah. And Cameron was going through that and he needed help. He needed some guidance in selling his home. So he reached out to Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves real estate team, and they were fantastic. In Cameron's own words, he said, even with all the issues that came up, your team kept us going and got us to the finish line. Without you and your team, I truly believe the house would still be on the market. Your generosity will not be forgotten. I will recommend you and your team to anyone I know that is selling or buying a home because I know you are the best. Thank you for everything your team did for us.
So if you're looking to sell your home and maybe you'd like to get the idea of what it's worth, the high end, the low end, or maybe just a cash offer and be done, reach out to Johnny and Tom with Made for More at tomdaves.com or just Google Tom Daves Made for More. And remember, you get more with Made for More. License number 581837.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
The year was 1998. Bill Clinton was president. And Matt, you had just graduated high school, isn't that right?
A couple of years earlier, I think I was working at Wiener Schnitzel's. Let's see, Wiener Schnitzel's. No, actually, I think I had my first job in radio, actually, working overnights in the middle of the night. In 1998.
In 1998. And then there was this, was it a law? Or what was it that was passed, Lisa, in 98?
Civil code.
Civil code.
So who are we talking to today?
Yeah, so we have Lisa Massey here with Snap NHD. She's an absolute amazing person. And we're talking about NHDs, natural hazard disclosures. If you don't know what that means, they are required on all real estate transactions in the state of California. And in 1998, that was actually written into the Civil Code. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Civil Code 1103.
1103. And what was the reason? Like, why did they want this written into the Civil Code, Lisa?
So what happened was in 98, they decided to pass this Senate bill because there were so many homeowners that were getting into properties without knowing that they were in certain zones or areas. So think of anything that's like flood, fire, think of Mother Nature, right? Mm-hmm. Anything that's a natural disaster, mudslides, landslides, where people were actually losing their homes. Yeah. And so when they passed this Civil Code in Civil Code 1103, they stated you must disclose when there's a change of hands to a new buyer. So it's a seller required to pass this report on to the actual buyer.
So that way they know what they're getting outside of the home, like the environment outside of the home.
It allows them to have an educated, decision on what they're actually getting into and what they're purchasing.
So the state, prior to that, saw that as a problem where homeowners were getting into a situation where a flood might happen or a fire. They weren't aware of that, right?
Absolutely.
And then they would be in severe trouble because their insurance wouldn't cover something like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So think of there's, obviously we've had major earthquakes The 1928 St. Francis Dam collapsed. There was lawsuits in that. And then, there was death, there was loss of life, loss of property. So, and we've had, floods, fires throughout California. I mean, Cal Fire just came out with their new maps. So all NHD companies on April 1st, they have all updated fire maps. And think about it, we were at like about 38%. We're getting closer to 50% in the state of California.
Yeah, the fire maps are getting crazy.
Yeah, we're on fire.
Valor did a deal in Los Lagos recently, fire zone.
Sure. In the Bay Area?
No, Los Lagos here in Granite Bay.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. Okay.
They won an Orangevale. It just backed up to a green belt.
Really? Wow.
Fire zone, like fire insurance. Like it's just crazy.
Even my co-host Mike, who does the morning shows with me, he lives in Citrus Heights near a creek, and he's now in a flood zone.
Yes.
He's in a flood zone.
Yep. And because they actually FEMA just released more maps on those flood zone areas in Citrus Heights.
So I think eventually it's just going to be the whole. You live in California, it's going to happen.
Beautiful California.
Right.
And so that's what's crazy about these NHD reports, though, is that like you may be from the area, you may think, okay, yeah, in the foothills, fire makes sense, but Granite Bay, like that's crazy. And so it's really beneficial to the client to have this information up front and just know what they're getting into.
Absolutely. And you can't close escrow without having this report. So for listing agents, I always let them know, order at the time of listing because you want to disclose. And when you're getting all of your, disclosures up front, like you should, then there's no surprises. If you come down to being, let's say, in a high fire severity zone and you're triggered in that AB 38, and you have to go on and request an inspection from CAL FIRE, if you're waiting 3 days before you're closing escrow, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, there's going to be delays.
And insurance companies, as you know, have backed out of California, so everyone's on this FAIR plan.
Yep, and it's the not so fair plan.
I don't know why they call it the FAIR plan.
Why is it not fair?
It's so expensive.
It's so expensive.
It wasn't designed to carry the entire state.
No,
it was designed to
be
just
long term.
Or it was just designed to be like a little, Band-Aid.
Right.
But, yeah.
So what is the benefit? Tell us about the company you work for and the benefit of working with you as opposed to someone else.
So what I love about Snap NHD is that we're a data technology company. So not only do we make our reports super easy and fast, I mean, our reports for the most part, unless they're held up in taxes, show up within a couple of minutes. And so I love the ease of the report. They're very easy in or out determinations. So I always tell agents, really focus on that summary page, on the statutory page that has those 6 in or out determinations: flood, fire, seismic, dam inundation, right? And if you see a box that says yes or a box that says no, then that's really going to tell you everything that you need to be most concerned about in the report.
Yep.
And then we also have a built-in tax calculator that I love. It makes it easy for the buyer's agent to let their clients know, depending on when they close escrow, they're going to have that supplemental bill come in.
Oh my goodness. Do you know what that is? Do you remember the supplemental bill, Matt?
No.
That is
the surprise supplemental bill.
Yeah, that always
surprise.
So whatever it was assessed for, right, and then what you paid for.
Oh, sure.
You paid the taxes, and the impound account was funded based off this, but now it's up here, and
right.
So now you're getting that. Man, I remember the first time I got a supplemental tax bill, I thought there was a mistake. I thought it was fraud. I was so mad. And they're like, nope, it's legit. But you're saying now they're going to know up front. They're not going to get a surprise.
Yes. I always let buyer's agents know, like, go on there and educate your clients, because if 3 months later they get that tax bill, they're going to be upset with you.
Yep.
And it also is a way for you as an agent to go back and remind them, hey, you're going to have a supplemental bill coming due. And it's just ways to stay in touch, right?
Mm-hmm. And
so
provide value.
Top of mind.
Yeah. And what you spoke on earlier, too, was just making sure you said it so quickly. I don't know if everybody caught it, but having all the inspections up front.
Yep, all disclosures.
That is something we preach and Made for More. You want to make sure home, pest, roof, we actually reach out to an insurance company. So that way we have an insurance quote. It won't be exact because it's based off your age and how many claims you've had. But, hey, the property is insurable. And we order up front the Snap NHD disclosure. So that way prospective buyers have access to everything up front. And that just makes a world of difference. And the best part about Snap is if you end up not selling the home, or if it ends up not going through for one reason, or if you don't use the disclosure, you don't pay, right?
Yep. If you don't close, you don't pay. So there's no loss there to do that. And also for all of the new listeners, for anyone that hasn't worked with Snap NHD, you do get 50% off your first order. So, $49.97, you get that NHD, the tax, the Mellarus, and then you also get the environmental report. And I'd like to talk about the environmental because we're talking about the NHD, that's the natural hazards, like Mother Nature, things that are out of our control, right? Yeah. But then there's the added additional report at the end that states any man-made. So environmental is all man-made. So things that are in our control that affect air,
Give
water.
us some examples.
So air, water, soil. So anything that can potentially, that's man-made, affect those three areas. So think of like radon, think of leaky underground storage tanks. This is all sexy information, I know.
I know, it's riveting.
I know, riveting. Gas and oil wells. Like if you're near an airport, if you're near, a military base.
What about the dam, Folsom Dam? Would that qualify?
That would also, the dam inundation would be actually in the NHD.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's on that statutory page. That's actually required to have
power lines, stuff like that. Would that be the man-made?
The man-made,
right.
Yes, if they were man-made. So, but it's more things that are
a
like
noisy high school,
yes,
man-made.
Noise, yeah, right?
Well, no, is that true though? Noise pollution
are in there, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, there are noise ordinances. So, if you're near an airport, you want to know.
Sure.
If you've got planes flying over all day, right?
And that's kind of the reason why they did this, too. Like, if you're from the area, then, yeah, sure, you know about the airport. But if you're coming from somewhere out of town, you don't know the landscape as well. And so they just want to make sure buyers are informed.
It's a great way to, really talk about, all of the schools in the area, what's around, right? And then also the environmental concerns.
So who pays for this?
The seller does.
The seller pays for this.
Unless you negotiate it otherwise. But generally speaking, it's the seller.
Okay.
But if you think about it, the report really is for the buyers. So I always tell buyer's agents, don't be shy. It's under $100 to order an NHD report. So fight for your company. It's not generally one that's countered out like title is. Everyone fights for their title company.
I know. We fight hard for Margaret.
And it's good.
Oh, I love Margaret.
And it's good even for agents to have these conversations with you so that they can just be informed, because an informed agent seems like someone that the buyers and sellers can trust, someone that they can know and depend on, that's going to have all that information, looking at those disclosures, but then just being aware of what the areas have, certain suburbs, you're vulnerable to this, and the disclosure, you're going to have this. And it's just beneficial.
I was talking with a seller. Oh, where was he? He was in Roseville, just on the border between Roseville and Granite Bay. And he's like, yes, my house is going to sell really fast, and so I'm just going to throw on the MLS, and that's really all it takes, right? And I said, technically, in order to get the home under contract, maybe. But then there's the whole escrow period. Like, how do you know what the normal fees are? How do you know what good inspectors are? How are you going to negotiate? Like, just what we're talking about right here can save you thousands of dollars on either side of the transaction if you have an advocate. But if you have an inexperienced agent or somebody that is new to this process or unfamiliar, then it can cost you a lot of money. So it's not just about throwing a sign in the yard and getting an offer accepted. How do you know the offer is going to close? If you have 4 offers, how do you know how to pick which is the strongest offer? Are they underwritten? Are they just pre-approved? Is it a desktop, pre-approval?
Sure.
Is the lender local? Are they legit? Or are they, from some company on the East Coast that has a habit of qualifying people and then the loan not going through? So their offer may be higher, but the best offer is the one that's going to close.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, anyways,
These days, you got to work harder for it.
Oh my gosh, it seems like I'm dragging all these escrows just across the finish line. They're basically it's so hard right now because money's tight for buyers, and sellers still want to net the most amount of money because they're still in their home and it's locked in with like a 3-4% interest rate. So they're motivated to net the most amount of money out of this because they're going to go and get another mortgage, and they're going to be paying 6-7%. So
Absolutely.
It is critical right now to be working. It's not like 21 where everybody was winning. It's
And we
way
never
harder.
anticipated that to happen.
No.
During
Right.
COVID.
That was a blessing.
Yes.
But I think the bottom line, working with someone like you and your company is beneficial, especially to agents, because, having those conversations, even aside from getting those reports, which of course is necessary, right?
Yes.
But just, giving you a call, emailing you, and sitting down having those conversations about what the climate is, what the landscape is for Northern California, so they can be an informed agent to help their clients.
Yep. And so I'll give Lisa a quick plug. The reason why Valerie and I have worked with Lisa for years now is because of the personal relationship, because she is so good at her job and because she's so responsive. Did you ask her when you started working with her, have you graduated high school? No, I did not.
See?
I need to add that. I
wonder if she would have said, nope, never graduated high school.
Yeah, now you'll never know.
Right.
But she is just so responsive.
I never was damaged by that public high school education.
But not only that, but everybody, Lisa. Like, everybody. You've been doing this a long time. You said you got started in 01.
Jay-Z,
Yes.
right? Branson.
Jay-Z got nothing on me. Come on now.
No. But anyway, so if you're looking for a good NHD rep, if you're looking for the best NHD rep, I suggest you reach out to Lisa Massey at Snap NHD.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have a phone number they can text you?
I do. And that's the last thing I want to also add is that if you have clients you want me to talk to with the NHD report, they can call me, maybe give me a heads up.
Yeah.
And then if you want to know if the property's in or out of flood or fire, just text me the addresses and I'll look up and give them real quick to you. That way, if you want to stay out of those areas, you can. So my phone number to text me or call is 916-549-1226.
549-1226. 549-1226.
In the 916.
549-1226.
And if you forget about it, just go ahead and reach out to Made for More at madeformoreliving.com, and we can always get you connected with Lisa as well. So thank you so much for being on the show, Lisa. We're so glad you were able to make it out today.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. You guys are great.
Thanks.
Got to read you this text we got from Cameron. She said this about working with our friend Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves real estate team. She said, "You and your team were fantastic!" Exclamation point. "Without you and your team, I truly believe the house would still be on the market. When issues came up, such as the washer and dryer, you made it a point to fix the issue, and your generosity will not be forgotten. I will recommend you and your team to anyone that I know that is selling or buying a home because I know you are the best." And again, that's a text from Cameron, who worked with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves real estate team to sell her home.
And that's why if you're going to be doing something really big like selling a house that's complicated, you want the best, which is Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves real estate team. So if you're looking to sell your home and maybe you'd like to get the idea of what it's worth, or maybe just a cash offer and be done, reach out to Johnny and Tom with Made for More at tomdaves.com, or just Google Tom Daves Made for More. And remember, you get more with Made for More. License number 581837.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Matt, so I just got back from the trip of a lifetime. Honestly, this is probably something I'll be talking
Not
about.
Bakersfield.
No, I didn't go to Bakersfield.
But
Nothing
you love
wrong.
Bakersfield.
I do love Bakersfield. Buck Owens, Crystal Palace, the Padre Hotel. Oh, man.
Wow, you should work for the tourist department at Bakersfield. Because your wife is from there, right?
Valerie was born and raised in Bakersfield. She graduated from Stockdale High. That's the same high school Derek Carr, the Carr brothers.
But you are not
graduated
from
from?
Bakersfield. You
I am
just
not.
got to know that community by dating your wife. Is that what it was?
Well, how I got to know Bakersfield was I moved there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I had finished. So I wanted to originally be in the Navy, and so I had applied to the Naval Academy, and I'd gotten a congressional nomination once. Was not accepted to the Naval Academy. Okay, great. I applied a second time. I got the congressional nomination a second time, and then they actually invited me to fly out. The Naval Academy did, and so I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm getting in. I didn't apply to any other schools at this point. It was my second year. I was finishing up my AA at a community college in Coalinga, and I didn't apply anywhere else. And then a couple days before I was supposed to fly out to the Naval Academy, they said, "Hey, you know what? You're still welcome to come out, but we're not going to let you in."
Oh, wow. Bummer.
I know. They told me I was
You must have been devastated.
super disappointed.
Did they say why?
I was too old. They said I was too old. I think I was 20 at the time. So they said I was too old. And
too old? I'm 20 years old.
That's what I thought.
On.
That's what my dad was like. Well, gosh, sheesh. The old man, you got 9 toes in the grave at 20. So anyway, so now I was panicked. And I was like, where am I going to apply? There's no other schools. And the president of the community college, Willard Llewellyn, I'll never forget the guy's name, Willard Llewellyn, said, hey, there's two places that are still accepting students. I'll write you a letter, and I'll see if we can get you past the technical deadline. And one of them was Stanislaus, CSU Stanislaus, and the other one was Bakersfield. And when I was running the numbers and seeing, which would be more affordable, Bakersfield was like cheaper by like $40.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really close. And so I was like, well, let's go to Bakersfield. And so anyways, I was going to college in Bakersfield, and that's where I met Valerie.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we totally sidetracked there.
I know.
Talking about the vacation of a lifetime, the trip of a lifetime. Tell me about it.
So this story actually starts back in 2007. Billy Joel was touring, so I was still living in Coalinga, and my sister was still in high school. And this, I'm a big Billy Joel fan, and she was too, and he was coming to the Save Mart Center in Fresno. And so I was like, hey, I call her Ash. She's like, hey, Ash, how about we go? And so we went, and we had a fantastic time. He was incredible, and it's just a special memory we shared. And then recently Billy announced that he's been playing Madison Square Garden every single month for like the past 10 years. Every single month. There was a hiccup during COVID, like they had to take a break for a while there. But aside from the COVID thing, every single month for the past 10 years. And so he's announcing that June was going to be his last month. And so I said, hey, you know what? Actually, my sister reached out and said, hey, how about we go to one of these last shows? And so I said, absolutely. So we hopped on a plane. We flew out. It was his 75th birthday.
Oh, it was Billy Joel's 75th
Billy
birthday?
Joel's 75th birthday on the day of the concert. We didn't know this when we booked the tickets. And he's just talking, and he's just so thankful and grateful about the life that he's lived.
Had you ever seen Billy Joel at the Madison Square Garden?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'd never been to Madison Square Garden. I didn't even know anything was did there except the Knicks played,
Right.
So he's just telling all these stories about how wonderful his life has been, how grateful he is. And later on, I learned that in 1970, before he made it big, so I guess he really made it big in like 74, 76, somewhere around there. So in 1970, he actually drank a bottle of furniture polish to commit suicide.
Well, I've never heard anybody attempting suicide that way.
Well, I think
there's lots of different ways. Drinking a bottle of furniture polish. I mean, did he really think that was the way to go?
I don't know. But he said I think he said he farted furniture polish, and that was about it. And he said the reason why he drank furniture polish was it looked tastier than bleach. And so,
wow.
But anyways, the point is if he had been successful, look at all of the lives that he's touched,
sure,
at the incredible life he's lived, the incredible career he's had. That would all have never happened if he'd either given up or died.
Right. Did he talk about why he wanted to commit suicide?
No, so he didn't even talk about this, and it was very happy, and it was his birthday.
Sure.
But my sister Ashley was actually telling me about this story. And it's just crazy to see like the life arc, the arc of somebody's career or life. And the reason why, what does this have to do with real estate is there's a lot. It's a really challenging time to be a real estate agent right now. One of the toughest times, arguably, in the last 40 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Even more so than 2008 or?
Yeah. The reason why is because at least some sales were taking place. Like there were more sales taking place in the downturn than there are now. So every single time a sale takes place, that's essentially an opportunity for a realtor to be paid. But there's so few sales taking place, and there's so many real estate agents compared to 2008.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
That there's just so few paychecks happening, and then so it's just really, really hard. And so there are people who got in the industry. I got in it in 2015, so I'm relatively new compared to some people who've been doing this 20, 30. Tom Dave started in 77,
right.
And so relatively new. But there are some people who got started in like 2020, 2021, and the market was very, very forgiving at that time for a real estate agent. And so it's just interesting if all you experienced was the good times and now you're in one of the hardest times ever. That's a very stark contrast to be living through. And if this is how you provide for your family, like there is no plan B, you're all in on this. It's just a really challenging time to be in real estate. Some of the best, like I think, like technically speaking, as far as their grasp of the contracts and as far as their grasp of like inner client relationships, some of the best agents I know personally are struggling because there's just so few opportunities. But don't drink the furniture polish.
Right. So what would be your encouragement? What do you take out of Billy Joel's story that should be inspiring or at least encouraging to those who are struggling right now? Maybe they're thinking about switching industries and going and doing something else. So
what I would do is, what my takeaway from that, because I'm not going anywhere. I have no intention of changing careers at all. So my takeaway from the Billy Joel story was, hey, just don't drink the furniture polish. Just keep going. If you're in the game, just stay in the game and just keep pushing. And eventually things will get better. You'll figure something out. Something will shake free and it'll improve. But if you're in the industry and you're like, I don't know if this is for me, if you're not 110% committed to succeeding in this industry, then what I would suggest you do is you make a list of pros and cons. Hey, here's what I want out of life. Here's what I don't want to have happen at the end of my life, and then just see if real estate checks those boxes. Because if you're not 100% in, if you have a plan B, if you have a backup plan, if I'll go back to this job, or I'll watch the kids, or I can go back to school and get a degree in something. If you have that mentality, you are not going to succeed because it's just so brutal right now. And that's what makes your team, the Made for More Living team, different than a lot of other folks that are out there, is you only bring on those that are passionate, that are 100% in, because you know that your strategies and what you do works, but you got to have someone who's all in and not just playing around. It's not a hobby for them. Correct. I always ask them, what's your plan B? And if they have a plan B, I know they're not going to make it. And so if you're listening to the podcast, or listening to the show, then you know the answer to that question. But for example, I was just recently interviewing two people, and both of them did not sound all in. They had these degrees. They had they did big things back in 2020 or 2019, but they haven't sold a house since. And I'm like, nah, you're not. I'm not telling them no, don't join the team. I'm trying to be polite, but I'm not. They are not joining the team. Right. I'm trying to look for other avenues to help them if they're looking to grow their real estate career. Because that's the cool thing about where we're at. It is not all in on one thing. You can either join the team, you can be a solo agent. There's all these different options within the brokerage that we operate at EXP for an agent to find their place. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I know that that's important because it's not just about having a great team. It's important to have a great team so that you can overserve your clients, those that are selling their home, those that are buying their home. You want a hungry agent. You want an agent that's going to hyper serve the families out there, because this is a big deal. You don't want to have somebody that's trying to help a family find their permanent home, and someone's doing it as a hobby or on their free time. You want someone that's going to be 100% dedicated to helping those families. 100% dedicated and has a track record of success. Yeah. Like, why would you go to a surgeon who just got, I don't know what it is, completed residency? They're new in this career, and you're gonna, okay, yeah, I'll use you because you might have a cheaper rate, but hopefully it all work. Hopefully I wake up. Sure, absolutely. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on the current climate we're in now, because I've always heard, after the Super Bowl, things start to heat up. Things start to pop in as far as the real estate market. Is that still true this year? I'm sure obviously it's a little bit cooler, but is it still... Are we still seeing a season that's, moving homes a little bit faster during this season, spring, summer? Yeah, so I would say it has picked up since the winter, but for seasonally where we're at right now, there's still very few transactions taking place. Now, are homes selling? Absolutely. Homes are selling, and they're selling for 100, 101%, 102% of what they're listed at. So they're getting at or above list price in many different zip codes. But if you're overpriced, that sucker is sitting. There are no buyers out there who are looking to overpay for a home right now. They're looking for the best deal because interest rates, unfortunately, also went up around the Super Bowl, and we're starting to see some flexibility there. They're starting to come down a little bit. I don't know if they're going to continue to come down. It really is depends on inflation.
So I'm curious what your conversations are with those homeowners who obviously they've got a lot of emotion tied into their home that they've had for 15, 20 years, right? And they want obviously to get the most for it. You're sitting in their living room, or maybe it's a phone call in your office or something like that, and you're having these conversations and they want to get the maximum dollar for their home. And obviously they want to price it, really high. And in your mind, there's, that's not going to be what's best. What's that conversation like with those homeowners where it's almost like an emotional conversation? Yeah,
it's very emotional because you got to think of it from their perspective. When's the last time they sold a house?
Right.
It might have been 5 years, 7 years, 20 years.
Right.
I'm speaking, we have a person we're working with right now. He's selling his dad's house. His dad bought the house brand new in 1962 or 64.
Wow.
And he's never sold a home himself personally. And so this is a very scary thing because they haven't done it frequently. Like, think about the first time you do anything. You go to a new church or you drive to your new job. It's scary. There's butterflies. But then after you've done it 5, 10, 15 times, the butterflies go away.
Right.
But so for them, they're still filled with these butterflies. And so one, coming at it from a place of empathy and understanding where they're at, meeting them where they're at, and then just explaining, hey, like, this is not the first time we've done this. In fact, we've probably sold, given it on any time of the month, like 10, 15, 20 homes that month. And so this is something we do on a regular basis. We're good at what we do. And this is where we see most people have success. At the end of the day, it's the seller's house. I tell this to them all the time. Hey, it's your house, your rules.
Right.
I'm here to advise you, but it's up to you whether or not to take my advice.
That's good. I love that. Yeah. I mean, it is all about a personal relationship. It's not just cold money, facts, and numbers. It's a relationship. Yeah. And I love that that's what you guys are about at Made for More. That's why you created this company. That's cool. So if somebody's thinking about selling their home, or maybe they're thinking about buying a home before this summer, how should they get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can just Google us. You can Google Made for More. You can Google Tom Dave's Made for More, or you can go to madeformoreliving.com. It's spelled madeformoreliving.com.
Got to read you this text we got from Cameron. She said this about working with our friend Johnny Jennings and the Tom Dave's real estate team. She said, "You and your team were fantastic!" Exclamation point. "Without you and your team, I truly believe the house would still be on the market. When issues came up, such as the washer and dryer, you made it a point to fix the issue, and your generosity will not be forgotten. I will recommend you and your team to anyone that I know that is selling or buying a home because I know you are the best." And again, that's a text from Cameron, who worked with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Dave's real estate team to sell her home.
And that's why if you're going to be doing something really big like selling a house that's complicated, you want the best, which is Johnny Jennings and the Tom Dave's real estate team. So if you're looking to sell your home and maybe you'd like to get the idea of what it's worth, or maybe just a cash offer and be done, reach out to Johnny and Tom with Made for More at tomdaves.com, or just Google Tom Dave's Made for More. And remember, you get more with Made for More. License number 581837.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So Matt, you probably are familiar with this. You know Valerie and I are not originally from the Sacramento region, right?
Right, correct.
Yeah, so Valerie and I, we actually traveled all 50 states trying to figure out where we wanted to live. And out of all the places, we decided to make the Sacramento region like our home. We beat out Texas. It beat out the Carolinas, it beat out Tennessee, beat out Idaho, and we just absolutely love the Sacramento region. But I'm not originally from here. I'm from this little town named Coalinga.
Coalinga. How do you spell that?
How you spell it and how you say it are two different things, but Coalinga. Okay. Coalinga. And 93210. And anyways, born and raised in that small town in the Central Valley, and I've been getting a lot of notifications recently that they recently won. The high school mascot was named the number one mascot, voted the number one mascot in the country.
Wow. Because pretty much everybody in the town voted for it.
That's what I thought.
We got to have something going for us. We got to be known for something.
We got to have something. That's what I thought. I was like, man, everybody in Coalinga must have voted.
And what is the mascot?
But not everybody in Kalinga could have voted. It almost got 1 million votes.
Wow.
So way more than the number of people living in Kalinga. But yeah, so the mascot, his name's Oscar, and he's a horned toad.
A horned toad? What the heck is a horned toad?
So horned toads, I don't.
It's a frog? Some kind of frog?
It looks more like a lizard.
Well, you've seen the picture of it, right? When you were there, right? Didn't you see the horned toad everywhere?
Yeah. Well, they're not everywhere now. They're more like up in the hills. They're harder to find, but they are like legit in the area. And they just look like little scaly, horny, bumpy lizards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so actually there's an event that takes place every year, and there's horned toad races.
Wow.
You have not lived until you've seen a horned toad race.
So I wonder why it won this competition. 1 million votes they got?
Almost, yeah, like 980 something or whatever. Yeah, 1,000. But yeah, I don't know why, but I just thought that was really cool.
Good for you, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you take a lot of pride in that.
Kalinga proud, yeah. But
home of the horned toad. They're probably creating some kind of billboards as you enter the town, right?
They have to be.
Home of the #1 mascot in the country, the horned toad.
So Valerie's giving me a hard time because I'm really excited about the possibility of having some billboards locally, because I used to have a billboard back in Kalinga, but the billboard I had, it was mounted on top of a rusty tractor.
Oh,
and
nice.
It was like a 3x6. It wasn't very big.
Come on.
And
that's awesome.
But
so you're thinking about having a mascot then for Made for More Living,
mascot,
right?
Yeah.
The Made for More Living horned toad.
Made for More Living horned toad. Yeah, he's going to
You'd have to call
Oscar.
up Kalinga and make sure that would be okay with them.
See if it doesn't infringe on any copyrights. But yeah, but no, talking about voting, right? Voting for the mascot and all that. What we're hearing in the real estate space is a lot of people nervous about elections, and they're like, hey, is now a good time to sell, or I'm going to wait to do anything until after the elections?
Why are they nervous?
They either think the interest rates are going to drop closer to the election, they're waiting to see who the president's going to become because they think it's going to be better, the market's going to be better after that, whoever that person is elected. You know, I hear it from both sides of the aisle. But that's essentially, there's just uncertainty. The biggest thing when buying or selling a house that a real estate agent needs to provide is certainty and clarity for their client. And right now there's just a lot of uncertainty around what's going to happen with this election.
I wonder, historically, has that happened after an election? Have rates dropped or gone up, or how have they moved after an election? More so a presidential election, not a midterm.
Yeah. So there's people out there that say yes, they have, and there's people out there that say no, they haven't. And what we tell our clients is we don't like to plan for what if, like what if this person is elected or what if this person isn't elected. We like to plan for even if.
Right.
So even if so-and-so is elected, then you will be okay. That you're in a good spot with that house, that you're not missing out, you're not missing any opportunities. So what would that look like? Let's say you're nervous about, hey, I think the market's going to tank right after the elections. Okay, totally understand like what you're nervous about. I hear what you're saying. But let's put together a game plan where you can afford the monthly payment. But let's say everything tanks and you decide you want to move out of state and get a job somewhere else. Well, now you can rent out this home that you were living in, and it will still cash flow. You'll still be able to cover the mortgage and then some. So that way you have a plan B. So if everything works out with the election, great, you can stay here forever. But if it doesn't, you can rent it out and you'll still be okay. So no matter what happens, even if so-and-so gets elected, you're going to be fine.
Right. I like that idea. Yeah. Because that's just part of life. There's always going to be potholes and circumstances and changes and situations.
Yeah. And
if you're constantly putting your life on hold or trying to find that perfect scenario, there's just never such a thing, right?
Never such a thing as perfect. And if you're out there looking for a home and you're like, I have not found the perfect home, you're going to be waiting a long time. What we like to do is we like to create, we have it called the Buyer Dream Home Form. So we go through and like, what's important to you? And we try to get as close to that as possible, but we'll never get 100% because perfection just doesn't exist. I heard this great quote by Dan Sullivan. Have you heard of Dan Sullivan before?
No.
He's this famous business coach, been around a long time. And he said that ideals are like the horizon. So if you're flying or you're walking or you're driving, like you can look out to the horizon, you can kind of get your bearings, but you'll never reach the horizon. It's a good place to get your bearings, but you'll never attain whatever that ideal is.
Right.
And so if you have this ideal home, you're never going to find that ideal home, but it's a good, hey, this is the general location. These are the general amenities. This is how many beds and baths like our family needs. you can kind of create that home horizon, and then it'll give you like a direction, something to shoot for.
Right. I like that. It's kind of like marriage, right?
Kind of like marriage. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just
Our
kidding.
wives are perfect.
Right, exactly. My wife is my dream wife.
Yep. I always tell Valerie she's the best wife I've ever had.
Yeah.
She's also the only wife I've ever had.
That's right. I love that, though. But you're right. You know, some people, it's a matter of, are you serious? Do you want to move? Do you want to sell? Do you want to buy a home? You know, how serious are you? Or is it one of these, like you said, a dream on the horizon?
Yeah.
That it's always, you know, otherwise, how serious are you about it? Is this a realistic goal of yours?
Let's just go back and look at 2012. If you bought in 2012, how much equity would you have today? You'd have a lot.
Right.
You'd have way more than if you never bought in 2012. Let's say you bought in 2016. Okay, you'd have more equity than you would today. Let's say you bought in 2020, more equity than you would have today. And so the last thing that I want these potential buyers to be doing is looking back at 2028 and wishing they bought in 2024.
Right.
Because it doesn't really matter what's happening right now. It matters what's happening 5, 10, 15 years from now.
I think you're right, because it's interesting. I don't run into a whole lot of people who bought at the peak of the market, you know, where interest rates were a certain way or home prices were a certain way, and then they dropped and they have this regret. I don't run into a lot of homeowners that talk about, oh, darn it, I bought my house too soon, or I bought it too late. You know, sometimes you hear that, oh, I bought it too late. I should have bought it a couple of years ago.
I always hear that.
But you never
out.
hear regret from homeowners saying, oh, I should have waited, you know, because usually things go up and down and they're cyclical, like you've said before. So, you know,
long term, it goes up. And here's you know, people are like, well, what about foreclosures? What about all these other things? And that's just not likely to happen because, one, there's not a whole lot of foreclosures taking place. There's not going to be this wave of foreclosures. Two, let's say there is, the Stones, Blackstone, BlackRock, all these hedge fund investors are going to snap those homes up. And then let's say they didn't even, there's still such a lack of inventory in today's market that so many people are wanting to buy homes that and that need to buy homes that there's not going to be this oversupply. And that's the only, it's supply and demand. If there's a lot of supply, then demand will go down and then prices will go down. But there's just such a lack of inventory right now that it doesn't look like prices are coming down anytime soon. So
before we go, because we're running out of time, what is your last encouragement for those that are thinking about selling their home or buying their home? Why should they give you guys a call at Made for More Living? And what would be your encouragement for this dream that they have of either selling their home or buying their home?
Yeah, so what we...
And obviously, you would tell them not to move to Texas.
Well, you can move to Texas if you want to. I'm not going to hold that against you. But what we like to do is we like to sit down with them and we can actually run them through a simulator. And it can be like, hey, here's what it's going to look like if you stay. Here's what it's going to look like if you choose to sell. Here's what it's going to look like if you choose to sell and pay off some debts and buy another house. Like there's all these different scenarios. And so what I would encourage is just reach out to us at madeformoreliving.com. Book a free call, and what we can do is we can run you through those simulators and show you in black and white what the best option would be for you. Because everybody has a different situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No pressure. Madeformoreliving.com.